Hi, I'm Joe Foster. Welcome to Kenjute. Let's talk about real fights, the video series. In a previous video, we discussed how to build self-defense techniques with the idea of sequential flow. This video is part 2 of that concept, where I will talk about some additional points and clarifications. The Let's Talk About Real Fights is a video series designed to present concepts that you can apply to any martial art. Check out these previous 6 Let's Talk About Real Fights by visiting the Kenjute International YouTube channel. Okay, so in the previous video, Sequential Flow, we talked about how you build a self-defense by adding a section at a time. And hopefully if you can do that by building one section at a time, you practice a section, add a section, you're able to deliver a self-defense in a longer sequence. So if you recall back in Sequential Flow, the first video, part 1, we were in a fight position, you threw a right roundhouse punch at my face, you blocked this way, you palmed him in the face, launched the knee to the groin this way, you could elbow him in the head and carry on like that. And by doing that, we would build onto it. Okay, so watch again. From here, remember, we did this, go ahead, we did this block, and we did this palm, we launched the knee, and we elbowed, and we could punch him, and we could kick him, and so on. The second one that we did on the other side for the camera was called circling hammer, also a beginner move, where you're standing and the guy threw a left roundhouse punch at you, you step back and you blocked it, launched the punch in the face, you hammered him in the face, popped the groin, kicked him, buckle stiff arm. From here, we swept him to the ground, remember, did a spin kick, and we left. When we teach a student these skills, we're trying to teach a student to understand how to move when under stress. Simply evading and doing a block and doing a punch might work, but it's not going to get you past that stage unless you've ever gone beyond that simple slip, block, and attack. And that's why we add length to the techniques as we go on. The idea that I'm just going to grab this guy and just start punching him a whole bunch of times like this, that works if you're big, strong, young. But if you're a female trying to do it against a big guy, I'm not so sure that that would work. If you can think about video games, you're a generation of video games. When you start the video game, you're at level 1. And for a while you struggle at level 1. Eventually you figure it out, you go to level 2. Struggle at level 2, go to level 3. But as you're going to level 3, suddenly 1 is a piece of cake because you've been there. You don't almost even think about it. You just get through 1 to get to 2 to get to 3. And when you get to 4 and 5 and 6 and so on, suddenly become super fast at delivering what you're going to do. The same thing happens when we are doing these sequential flow techniques. We're starting with the idea of a base movement. And from the base movement, we can then grow onto it. Now, students by nature get lazy. So if all they ever did was block, palm, and knee in the technique, and they did that over and over and over for years, a lot of people would disappear from training. So a clever way to get a student involved in training for a longer period of time by simply practicing, here comes that punch again, by simply practicing this idea of this is to add to it. Because what they don't realize is by adding to it, they're always doing that base over and over and over, but still challenging them to grow. And that's very important. So I should have also pointed out in the previous sequential flow video some other considerations. One of which is when this guy throws a punch at me and I'm responding, go ahead. So from this position here, my hands are up, he throws his punch, here's the beginner thing, and I palm his face, and maybe from this punch again, and palm, and knee. If he's done, you stop. you run away. We teach the follow-up so you can still continue on and on and on. Now, if the person is throwing this punch, and it was pointed out in the last video, maybe he threw a straight punch like thrusting hammer outside, where in the last video where I showed this movement here, where you slip and hit, lift and hit, elbow here, drive and hit, launch the knee like this. Okay? He's not just going to stand there and hold his arm out. You're 100% correct. But when he throws this punch, and I do this movement here, I'm still controlling this arm. I could, from this position here, have pushed it down and elbowed him in the face instead, and knee, and come and hit him this way. Options. So when you learn section learning, you can start to rearrange it in different ways. Well, what do I mean by that? If I'm doing this move and he throws that right roundhouse punch, and I'm all set, ready to go, and suddenly instead he throws the left punch, I don't complete the ideal version of the other technique. It goes into the what if. Here comes the left punch. So here's the one, here's the other. I just block on the inside. I step and chop the neck instead. So from this position here, double punch comes at you. 1, 2, step and chop, bam, this way. Then you slide up and knee him this way. So that shows you how you can make adjustments within the technique in what if. For example, on the other side. Threw a left roundhouse punch at me, and I stepped and blocked. I was all set, ready to come in and punch him this way, but he threw the right punch in this position here. Not a big deal. So I make an adjustment in the what if. Here comes the punch, you block 1, you block 2, you step straight this way, you punch low this way into here, back knuckle, and then you could cover out. Or if you wanted to segment that, section that into a longer version, here comes the punch. So he's got 1, he's got 2, you step and stride, bam, this way, punch him back knuckle, front cross, and hit, drive him, and clear him out of the way. We teach students to section the moves, but then we start to play with different variations. And hopefully that deals with the idea that this person is not totally cooperating and we can make adjustments. Kenjute self-defense patterns are taught in what we call the ideal phase of training. That means I do the move in accordance with how you're there. I strike, you respond. I strike, you respond. It is true, however, that most self-defenses never go as planned in the real world because of many factors. The environment. It could be nighttime where it's very hard to see versus the day. It could be on undulating surfaces like on hills or on stairs. It could be a super crowded area where you don't have room to move. Or there could be obstacles in the way like furniture. Plus the type of person. Maybe this person's really big so it's harder to move them and you have to make adjustments. The fitness level of the person makes a difference. What their fighting experience is. And maybe they have buddies. And finally, the fluidity of the situation, because it's always dynamic and changing. There's miscalculations, mistakes are made. The element of luck kicks in a real fight, and also external influences. Because of this, students should also practice how to make adjustments on the fly with the techniques that are taught. So the idea with sequential flow is to take those sections and expand on them. But we can also make adjustments because this guy's not just going to throw one punch and hold it out there. He's going to keep attacking. So we go back to that most basic white belt when they're in a fighting stance. Turn, face each other, salute. Okay, come this way a little bit for the camera, go in fighting stance. So here's that right roundhouse punch, remember? She blocks, here comes the big palm, launch the knee. White belt move. Okay, a little more to speed, go ahead. All right. And now he's not going to cooperate. So maybe what happens is he starts with the right punch but suddenly throws a left punch. And so that's the second ISR. The actual breakdown is here comes the left punch, he throws the punch, block, and strike, and knee, and push. Now he can start throwing combinations. Maybe throws a left-right punch. And she simply puts those together. Here comes the right-left punch. And now we're not going to tell her and see if she can figure it out. Keep mixing it up. All right, slide this way, put your feet together. So students can then practice drills by interchanging different sections in order to do what's called the what if phase of training. It's not perfectly ideal. I do this, you do this, I do this. So maybe they get to play as a beginner in a little less cooperation, and then you can increase the intensity. Finally, the other point I would like to make in regard to sequential flow and the concept behind it is that we can take these same patterns, these same sections of movement, and graft them in other ways, but we can also apply them to different situations. So if you recall the one technique in the first video where he was standing on this side and he threw the left roundhouse punch at me, what we call circling hammer, where I blocked, I shoot them punch, and I hit the face this way, pop, kick the groin, and I did that action here, swept the foot to the ground, kick the groin. You don't have to do all of it, but when we do this move, how could I apply that the same way? Well, I could be standing like this and he could grab my shoulder from behind. So if he's grabbing my shoulder from behind and I'm standing like this, I could do just part of that movement. And I know that this movement right here, pop to the groin, there's a kick to the groin I could leave. I could also jump out from this position here, pop the groin, jump this way, jump out and kick. Now, what if he grabbed me from the side? Come this way a little bit. So he's grabbing my shoulder from the side. So if you recall, in that technique, we did this movement here. When you did this, you did the sweep action and spun. Same idea, he grabs me from the side like this. It's like you could pin, you step, you hit him in the throat this way. All right, watch one more time, come up here. See, step, bam, you hit him in the throat here, bam. You drop and hit him in the groin, it's gonna lean him. And all I'm gonna do is double palm and sweep him this way. Same idea, I can kick any available target and go. Okay, up. You can also do micro versions or smaller versions of these sections of sequential flow. We know that certain things fit. So, for example, maybe he grabbed my shoulder. If I step to this position here, and instead of hitting here, maybe I did an elbow. I know that when I elbow somebody like this is going to fit to the groin. So I could, in these micro sections, I could pop and pop. So a student isn't always thinking about, well, what can I do after an elbow? Well, this fits into a thumb to the eye. That fits. 1, 2, 3. Another way, slide this way a little bit. Another thing out of here. If you're doing this elbow, you can here, you can grab the groin, grip the groin, and elbow the jaw this way. So this here, here. This here, grab here. There are lots of things that fit in sequences that allow us to get additional strikes, which is available in another Talk About Real Fights video where we give you lots of examples of that. But sequential flow hopefully gets a student to go beyond just get out of the way and block and hit. And having never gone past there, they struggle and resort to going back to just hitting a bunch of times. Okay? So hopefully these additional tips will help you with our understanding of sequential flow. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you would like to learn more about what we do, please visit our website at www.kenjuteinternational.com, where you too can get involved with Kenjute's online learning program from anywhere in the world. Thanks for watching.